Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 127. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zeberwolf. We're going to be talking about some nerdy news from the week, and that's about it. So, not really a lot going on new content wise, but let's see how it goes. Could be a short one, could be a long one. Let's dip in and find out. Yo, what's up, bro? How are you?
Almost forgot to unmute.
No, you're fine.
How you been, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Just forgot to set up like some of the videos in the background. So it's been a crazy week. Trying to like figure out things to do for work because it's kind of getting a little slow. I started talking to one of my other team members, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got a ton of work. If you want some, like, I might work you to the bone." And I'm like, "Dude, I work better under pressure. Just do it." And
I always say the same thing, bro. It's better to have a lot of shit to do rather than be sitting there twiddling your thumbs, like looking for work to do. Always better to be busy. Always.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But other than that, it's been a great week. We built a pantry.
Oh, sick. Hell yeah.
Dude, I can't tell you how fucking awesome it is to have a pantry. Like the moment you have it set up, you're like, what do you want to put in it?
Yeah.
So good. The counters are all cleaned off. Like Katie's just so ecstatic about it. The only thing is that she hates putting things on top of cabinets or like the fridge.
Yeah.
I love that shit. I utilize all my space, buddy. But like to her, she's like, no, get it off there.
Yeah, when we bought our house, there was a downstairs like toilet underneath the staircase, which is kind of I don't know if that's a common thing for you guys over there, but it's kind of common over here. They'll kind of convert under the stairs to a little like downstairs bathroom, and that was done, I think, when the house was built. But the people who bought the house, they took it out and converted it into like a big pantry. So like under our stairs is a big pantry, like, so it's pretty cool because our kitchen's very small, so it's actually really handy for space.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, no, my week was pretty good as well. I got a little under the weather just typically as the long weekend came in. Like I was streaming on Friday over on Twitch, and I could feel like my throat getting a little scratchy like towards the end of the stream, and I was like having to mute a couple of times to talk or to cough while I was talking and stuff, and I was like, I kind of feel a bit shit. Jumped into bed and like I could feel I had a bit of a stuffy nose, and I was like, fuck, because like my kids have been sick. So I'm like thinking like, oh, maybe I'll just, it'll skip me, like, but I felt like I was getting sick. So I only slept for like 4 or 5 hours into Saturday morning as well. And then I woke up and I felt like absolute shit. So I drank this like Lemsip drink. It's like a hot, like kind of paracetamol drink, and went back to bed for like 2 or 3 hours, woke up and I felt fucking fantastic. It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. But other than that, yeah, the week's been fine. It was a short work week for me, and I'm off tomorrow as well, which is great. But yeah, look, thinking about the cast all week, I was like, fuck, I don't really know what to talk about. Like, there's no real kind of new content. I know we were talking a little bit offline earlier, and you brought up Invincible. I haven't seen the new episode of Invincible yet. I was going to hopefully let a couple of episodes build up. I heard the first episode was good. I was talking to a dude in the gym about it actually, which was hilarious. And he was saying that it was really good, but he feels like that they shouldn't have paused on they shouldn't have broke the series up because it kind of ruined the flow of it or whatever. And I kind of felt that like when I was watching the first part of the series, like I kind of felt like it started slow, and then the last episode was fucking incredible, and then it's like, see you in a few months, guys. I was like, what? So that's why I kind of want to let a few build up just to kind of get back into the flow of it. But
right. Well, that's the thing about it, dude, is that even though we've had this gap, I guarantee you, buddy, it's hard for me to explain it because it's just like it's like, yeah, it ended on a great note in the mid-season. And it's like, yeah, I totally understand that it's like, oh fuck, it's already been a couple months. I totally, like, maybe some people were like, oh, I totally forgot what happened previously.
Yeah.
But the moment you watch it, it does kind of calm down a bit. It's almost like the roller coaster stopped.
Okay.
But then by the second half of the episode, literally, it's like you're about to get off the roller coaster, and then it locks you back, and it's like, get the fuck ready, and it just zooms, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Nice.
You're like, what is happening? Oh my god! And it's because Robert Kirkman is so good at setting things up. That's why when they changed things in the Walking Dead live action series, like compared to what they did in the comics, I was like, No, like Robert Kirkman loves doing this kind of shit, and I'm trying to keep it as vague as possible because
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil things. But like literally everything is basically like a different turn. You think you're gonna hit a wall and it turns. You think you're gonna hit a wall, it turns. Like it's gonna keep doing that until it's like when am I gonna hit it? When am I gonna hit the wall?
Yeah, that's epic, dude. I'm looking forward to talking about it next week. So I was
Mhm.
thinking because we're gonna have next week the X-Men '97. I think it's maybe only the first episode, but we'll have at least one episode of that to talk about.
I think it's two.
It's two. Good,
I think
great.
it's two.
That's great. More the better, I think, honestly, because if they're only like 20 minutes long, I think give us more. But we'll have a couple of episodes of probably each of them to talk about. And what I might do is I might go back and rewatch Invincible episode 4 before I go into episode 5, just to kind of, you do a bit of a refresher and kind of flow into episode 5 a bit better. But yeah, so this week on the cast, it's just kind of going to be. I've been jotting down a couple of notes of like kind of news and rumors and leaks and stuff to talk about throughout the week. Like it's not really any kind of crazy news, but like there's just some cool kind of things we can kind of dip into, and we can kind of just go with the flow, see where the conversation goes. Also, as we record this live, it is St. Patrick's Day, so happy Paddy's Day to anybody who's listening, anybody
Totally
who
forgot about
cares.
St. Patty's.
Yeah, it is. I'm not drinking or anything today.
I'm not wearing any green.
Yeah, either am I. I don't care. I can turn my room green. Hang on. Just for you, St. Patrick, just for you.
So like I don't really know anything about St. Patrick's Day, to be honest. I just know that it's a fun day that people like to celebrate.
Yeah, like look, it's the Americans actually take it more serious than we do, really. Like,
Really?
yeah. Like St. Patrick, like, the tale is, he was the one who banished the snakes out of Ireland, and all. It's kind of like a fairy tale kind of thing. Like it's just nothing really. Like it's not
Okay.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just one of those stupid days. Like
I mean, was it just like a really bad infestation of snakes or something? Like
I honestly don't. I'm not the man to ask this question to, bro.
Okay.
Like honestly, I'm not a history buff. I've never really given a shit about the day. I cared when I was a teenager. I used to go out drinking and have fun with my friends and stuff. But now the thoughts of being out, and I've seen loads of memes about this online, like your 20s on Paddy's Day versus your 30s on Paddy's Day. And it's like, in my 20s, like, yeah, you'd be fucking drinking all day and, you'd be going to some parties or whatever. Or I never used to like going into the city center anyway, but now it's kind of like I definitely wouldn't go anywhere near it. And I was seeing loads of TikToks of like the Dublin streets like yesterday and today, and it's just like fuck that. Absolutely no interest in going there at all.
Gotcha.
So yeah, look, just before we move into the first topic, which is the thumbnail of the episode over on YouTube, which is going to be our boy Henry Cavill. But I just want to say massive congratulations to Cillian Murphy, got his first fucking Oscar this week as well. He's the first like Irish born actor to win Best Male, which is like fucking incredible. So, and he did that on the week of Paddy's Day. So, yup, the Cillian,
good,
let's
man.
go. Yes,
I love it. I love hearing that.
He's a legend, bro.
And not to pull back on that, but like RDJ also got his first as well, which I think is great
for the same movie as well. Like Oppenheimer was like absolutely cleaned up the Oscars. So fair play to everybody involved. It was incredible. I actually sat down to try and watch it today, and the copy of it that I had, like the audio was kind of fucked up, so I need to get a different copy of it.
Gotcha.
But I'm genuinely thinking I might just actually digitally purchase it because like it's that good. But the copy I got of it was a bit wonky, so I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "Ah, well, what can you do?"
Yeah, but I mean, I love Cillian Murphy, man. Like he's
a legend.
He's got a good face on him, like too. He's got that really serious look about him. I thought he did pretty well. Like he correct me if I'm wrong. I hope I'm not. Cillian Murphy was Scarecrow, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I do confuse him with Nicholas Hoult. I think they kind of look somewhat similar. It's not 100%. It's just like I can kind of see like the facial structure. But
if you saw the two of them standing beside each other,
you could tell.
It would probably change your mind, especially because I think Nicholas Hoult is like 6'5" or something, and Cillian Murphy's like 5'7". Like
really,
yeah. It would absolutely look outrageous if the two of them were standing beside each other. Like you'd be like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I just think the face structure is like
yeah. Andre says they got 9 W's at the Oscars. Wow, that's crazy.
Great.
Yeah, that's mental.
Love that.
But like I think like again, I've kind of been paying a little more attention to the award shows since we started doing the podcast, and it's becoming a bit of a trend now that I can see, like, if someone starts winning like the BAFTA and the Emmys and stuff like that, like, it kind of, they're going to get the Oscar, like, you know what I mean? Like, the same thing happened with Brendan Fraser last year for The Whale. He started winning Best Male for all the awards leading up to the Oscars, and then it was like, yeah, obviously he's going to win this one too.
Dude deserved it. That he fucking knocked it out of the park. I really enjoyed the movie. There were moments where I was like, but
Yeah,
other than that, like, he
difficult
did a
watch.
really good job. He did a really good job. And just like Andre said in there, they also had the anime awards, in which case one of the shows that we've been wanting you to watch, which is Jujutsu Kaisen, won
Oh,
best
right,
anime,
okay.
best
Sorry,
anime of the year.
I'm reading the chat wrong. Sorry, my
Which
apologies.
one are you reading?
So I just read it got 9 Ws. I didn't know. I thought he was talking about the Oscars.
No,
He's
well,
talking about Jujutsu Kaisen getting 9 Ws. I don't care about
gotcha.
that. We're talking about the
What do
Oscars.
you mean you
bro.
don't care about
I
that?
don't care about a show I don't watch.
Watch it.
I
It's
will
so
watch it.
good.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I want to see how many Oscars it won now, because now I feel like a fucking idiot for saying that.
It only won 3. What are you talking about? Just kidding. I don't know. Actually, I don't think I've ever checked it.
It won 7. I knew it was a high number.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jujutsu
it won
Kaisen
7.
beaten out.
Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah, those 9 anime awards are definitely more important than Oscars.
Way more important.
Oh my god. Okay, anyway, longest intro ever, but let's go into the first topic of the night. So apparently it's been, I saw it during the week, and now, like, as we come to the weekend, we record these on a Sunday. I'm seeing it everywhere now. Apparently Henry Cavill is going to be a variant of Wolverine, and honestly, I like it. And I was talking about it today, and I was really thinking about it, and Henry kind of has a lot of, like, quite similar roles, and I'm kind of wondering, like, how is he going to do as Logan? Like, I think he looks the part, but can he, like, be Logan? So it'll be interesting to see. And like, I wonder as well, is this going to be, because again, at the start of the week, it was kind of, yeah, he's been cast as Wolverine. Everyone was kind of speculating. It was like, oh my god, he's going to be 616 Wolverine. This is our new Wolverine going forward. Then I saw some post on Twitter today from some reputable sources saying, like, maybe he's only going to be a variant in Deadpool 3, which I kind of hate, if I'm being honest, because this is just the John Krasinski, Reed Richards thing all over again. Like, if it's him for as Wolverine for 5 minutes and then he's gone forever, I'm gonna kind of be pissed, like, because I just feel like they're cock teasing us at this stage with, like, some really good castings and then just kind of disappearing with them. So I really hope, if it is true, I really hope it is. Because I would like to see his take on it. I think he's physically got the build and everything for it, and it'll be interesting to see him as Logan. But I don't want to see him as Logan for 5 minutes.
I mean, if you think about it, with Chris Evans, he was my goodness, he was Human Torch in what, 04?
05 and 07.
05. Okay. So then it took what, about 5 years, 5-6 years before he actually became the first Avenger?
Yeah, so I think he did, the second Johnny movie was 2007, and Cap 1 was 2011.
Yeah, so it took some time. You never know, dude. Like, it could be a one shot and then he's gone, but then years later they're like, all right, we found a casting for him. And then, like, they'll have it set in stone. So I think like, sometimes I feel like it's a gauging process. Like, you're trying to see, like, does this person fit well in the Marvel universe for our casting? And if the answer is yes, then by all means. I think it's weird that they didn't continue with John Krasinski. Maybe he's just busy with some of the work that he's been working on, like, that he's been doing. Because I know that he's got a lot of things. He's a director for other stuff.
Oh yeah, he's a busy man. But do you think that that's what stopped him from being Reed? His schedules?
Possibly, because there were a lot of other projects that he's been working on. And to cast Pedro Pascal, he's not. I don't think he's ever been a director. I don't know if he's ever been a screenwriter or anything. So I don't think he has that kind of stuff on his plate. So I totally understand, like, being able to cast him. And with Henry Cavill, I don't know if has he ever done anything in terms of directing or screenwriting or anything.
I know he's down as a producer on the Warhammer
Dude, you
series,
could,
but
you could put my name on it. I'll be a producer too. Like that's
yeah,
it's easy to be a
exact.
producer.
Well, producer and executive producer are, I think, two quite different things. But
Right.
I think he's actually down as a producer rather than just an executive producer, which is basically just, signing your name on it to kind of
Yeah.
sell tickets, like
Okay.
So I think he actually is involved, and I
Gotcha.
would say if the 40K thing actually does happen, I think he'll probably be starring it in some shape or form as well. Like I can't imagine he won't be in front of the camera as well as behind it.
Dude, I fucking that how amazing would that be if he was a fucking Marine? Like he was a space Marine or he was Inquisitor or he's anything. Anything within that universe. I feel like it would be so fucking cool.
I
Like
think it's
that.
like his biggest like kind of passion project is 40K, as far as I know. Like he doesn't like it's. I don't think there's anything that he loves more than 40K. So if he's gonna be behind the camera and in front of it, I think yeah, wow, that's like a home run.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and that's one of the cool things that I like about certain actors and directors is that if they can actually do both, it's so fucking good because then you're like, okay, so he's a good director and he can act.
yeah,
So like he knows how to interact with people while on the scene and he's also directing it, which is so fucking cool.
yeah.
But then you get people like Taika Waititi who's clearly has a different mindset when it comes to actually directing or acting in things.
I think
Um
Taika's a bit insane. And I think,
Yeah.
when you give him full control, that's what happens. Whereas when he's reined back and somebody else is actually involved in writing, I think that's when you maybe see the magic, because it's like, this is your lane, stay in it, do your
Right.
best bit here, but leave the rest to us. And like, I think he directed a couple of episodes of The Mandalorian in the beginning, and like at the start of The Mandalorian, there was no like kind of bad episodes as far as I remember. Like I think there was like maybe one or two in the whole span of the first two seasons that were kind of like, that was a bit shit. Like, but
Mhm,
overall, it was still fine. So like, you wouldn't even like it's not like his episodes would stick out going like, oh, that was just fucking ridiculous.
mhm.
So I think, yeah, I think if you give someone like him full control, God knows what's going to happen.
So
I think the problem with like the likes of The Witcher was Henry didn't have enough control, and he was butting heads with them, going like, guys, come on, like, can we just follow the source material? Like, the books do this, and he was reading off, quoting page by page, doing all this crazy shit, and they were just like, yeah, no, we didn't read the books, we don't play the games, we're doing our own shit, and that just drove him crazy, and he's like, I gotta get out of this, like.
yeah, and I totally agree with that. Like I understand his feelings towards that. And from what I understand, he kind of left on a good note. Like the last season he did was still pretty good. It wasn't like the best, but it was good enough, right?
I watched half of it. So they did a thing where they split the season again, like kind of like what a lot of shows are doing now.
Mhm.
So they put out like season three, part one. I watched all of that, and then they broke, and then I never came back and watched the last three episodes, but I'll get around to it at some point. I just kind of it kind of broke me a bit. Like, I think if they were smart, they should have not announced that he was leaving until the season was finished, and then you would have had
Mm,
more people watching it. And then, of course, obviously, it's going to break people's hearts that he's gone, but at least the season's over, and you get to kind of positively view the series. Like, so many people were like, "I'm not even bothering watching this show because I know he's gone already." Because it was announced that he was finished before the first episode came out. So it's kind of like
mm.
people are just like, "What's the fucking point in watching this now when we know he's gone?"
Gotcha. Yeah, like and that's real unfortunate, man, especially because you have an actor that's so passionate about it that he's willing to do his best for the role
Yeah,
and clearly people enjoyed it. And it's a shame how much research is not being done for no reason, to be honest. Even when we get on this podcast to this day, like at the very least I will do some research just so that I'm not like, a chicken with its head cut off and just like
yeah.
going crazy. I need to have some form of information, right? Like I can't go in and just be like like how fucked is that? Like imagine you and I making a movie and not knowing anything about like Moon Knight or something.
I think we'd probably still do a better job than half these fuckers, if I'm being honest. Like, seriously, like, I really don't get it. Yeah. Oh man, it drives me crazy. Like, and especially, and I can understand, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, I genuinely think if Henry Cavill was sitting here talking to us right now, we'd have a great conversation together, because I think he's one of us.
Oh
And
yeah.
I can only imagine what it would be like for him being the face of a show like that, and not even being able to kind of inject some source material into the show. Like, I saw an interview with the girl who played Siri in it, and she was saying like, Henry would be on the set and he'd be like, "Oh well, in book 3, page 56, Siri says this. I think you should go ahead and do this." And she's like, "Oh my god, like it's amazing! Like he's just like literally pulling pages out of the book and kind of telling me, do this, do that way, and was just like running into like such difficulty with the makers of the show because of it.
Yeah.
Shocking, absolutely shocking. Like let the guy go. I don't think I would take offense if I was writing a script, especially if I was doing it badly. But if I was writing a script for a show and the main actor who knows more about it than me comes to me and says, "Look, I think we should change this to this way because this is like more source material," I'd be like, "Henry, please go ahead. Let's shoot it. If you like it, let's go." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why not? Like, the dude is the professional here. Like, let him steer the ship. Like, whereas these writers and directors and stuff, like they're just so big headed in Hollywood. Like, there's so much ego involved. And you can just tell. Like, there's so much of it
And
involved.
that's the funny thing is like, even if he had made changes and even if there were things that are different from what you've actually written down that he wants to change, and it's actually for like, if you don't at least give it a try,
Yeah,
you're not giving people the opportunity to like branch out themselves, and you're not allowing yourself to progress as a person, as a writer,
yeah,
because having that second opinion really helps. Like, you can publish a shitty book if you want, but
yeah,
if you have people like proofread it and like go over it and just be like, damn, that was awesome,
yeah,
then it's like, okay, well, I know I made gold. But if they're like, that was awesome, except for maybe a couple things here, and you can't take that criticism, it's like, dude, you're literally sitting on a gold mine,
yeah, yeah.
and you're not you're
100%.
not letting this person dig.
Yeah,
Like, come on, let them dig.
I know. Um, Second bit of news, which is again kind of around MCU casting. So I'll kind of try and bundle these as best I can together just to kind of make it flow better. But apparently, according to My Time to Shine, hello, who usually gets stuff right, she's a big leaker. Ryan Gosling has apparently signed on the dotted line. He has agreed to a role in the MCU. We don't know what this role is just yet, but I'd say it's going to be announced fairly soon. What do we think of Gosling in the MCU?
I don't think he fits. I really don't. It's too much Harry Styles kind of feel. You know what I mean? Like, having
Mm,
Star Fox and like having Harry Styles as Star Fox was such a left field kind of thing that it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, because they might not even do anything with that.
yeah,
Um, like, you can
that's
easily
another topic
toss.
I want to talk about. Thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
No,
sorry.
you're good.
I'm
Um,
literally I'm writing here as you're talking.
yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like you're gonna toss in Ryan Gosling on a
Yeah,
character that people probably love, and essentially like maybe one off it, and it'll piss everyone the fuck off.
I think this is more than a one-off. I think this is like an actual casting. So, you know, I think the fan favorites for a long time have been Doom, which I don't know if I like. I would have preferred Henry as Doom. Again, I don't really want to get bogged down on the Doom talk again, but I think Doom was definitely one out there. Um, I kind of would have liked him as Johnny Storm, maybe. He's kind of got that swagger to be like
Yeah.
Johnny Storm. That would have worked for me.
You,
Um,
you know what would be interesting for him to do, and I don't think he'd be happy with this, but I think it would show how much range he has, is to give him Silver Surfer.
yeah,
And it like, because I know that whoever's Silver Surfer, they're gonna fuck it up, because they're gonna make him like way too like serious,
mm.
and not, and like just like unenthusiastic and just horrible.
So I heard a
But
rumor about Silver Surfer a while ago.
oh, really?
So first of all, if they were going to hire, and I think we talked about it before, but they were going to do a female Silver Surfer,
I'm okay with
which
that.
was they've backtracked on it from what I've heard more recently. But I think a rumor out there is that potentially Hayden Christensen might be doing the voice of Silver Surfer, and
Kristen
I
Stewart?
presume Hayden Christensen.
Oh, Hayden Christian. I think
Yeah.
for some reason my brain took out Hayden and just took Kristen, and just like Kristen Stewart. Ew.
No. Male. So Anakin Skywalker basically in the MCU as Silver Surfer, but just doing the voice, and then I presume they'll just do like a full CGI body, which
Mm.
I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Yo, big shout out to anybody who's watching us over on Twitch, by the way. Sorry, guys, I see you all popping in. Much love. Thank you. Coming in, just dropping my face here in the chat. Yeah, like I struggle to think who Gosling is going to be cast as, because he's such a big actor that I think it's got to be a kind of pivotal role at this stage. So that's why I think like maybe it is Doom, maybe it is like someone like that. Like, but I just don't. Could I picture him as a villain? Is kind of it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard to know.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, cause I was Johnny Storm would have been perfect, but obviously it's been cast already. But yeah, I think Doom maybe.
I mean, it's just hard. Like, I just don't like Ryan Gosling as a Marvel character. I don't like.
Cyclops.
Even then, I don't know if that works. Like, it just, I would even like, I would say put like make him a, because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
It's so hard to put him in somewhere where he's not going to just straight up like probably take over.
That's why
And
I'm thinking
it's
like he needs a pivotal role, like kind of for the next couple of phases.
mm,
Turn him into a Tony Stark kind of character, like, you know what I mean? Like, let him kind of potentially head up movies for a while.
yeah, and I can see how that would work for Ghost Rider, because essentially that character is very popular.
Jeez,
And
I didn't even think about Ghost Rider, because
yeah,
Ghost Rider's on the table. You know this, like he's.
yeah,
I think they were rumoring that it was going to be a TV show, but I think now they're making it a full film. So maybe Jesus, yeah, maybe he's Johnny Blaze.
I mean, you never know. Like, it's just one
Yeah.
of those things where, but it's so hard. In my head, I'm like, he's such like in my head, I just want to be like, he's such a goofball. But I
Yeah.
know in Blade Runner, was it 2048?
2049.
2049. Oh, I was
You were
I was a year off.
you were so close.
um, I mean, I heard he did a really good job in that one. A lot of people like that movie.
Haven't
It
seen it.
wasn't. It was probably not as good as like the original, but I mean, he still did it, and I think that's an interesting role. But I don't know. Like, I have like maybe I just haven't seen him in any serious roles for me to like pick him out for anything in particular.
Yeah.
Um, I just see him maybe just doing like Johnny Blaze.
I didn't even think about Johnny Blaze, but yeah, that could work. That could work. There's like probably so many fucking characters that we're not even thinking about right now that he could jump in as. Would you like to see him as good or evil? Good guy. I think evil would be a nice twist though, because like he's always kind of the good guy, right?
Yeah, and I think it would work if he was evil.
Yeah, I think it could too.
Doc Ock.
Oh my god,
How
that'd be
insane
kind of
would that
crazy.
be? That
Yeah,
would
that'd be
be
kind of crazy.
such a fucking like change of pace. Like
He kind of looks young as well. Like, he still looks young. Like, I think he's in his 40s now, right? But he could probably pull off someone in their late 20s, early 30s easily. Um, especially if he goes on like the Marvel diet and all that sort of stuff. Imagine him as someone like Norman Osborn or something.
yeah, and
Kind of cool.
and that could essentially work, but at the same time, I don't think I'd believe him if he were like a. You know what? Then again, I kind of think about it. He's a like Norman Osborn for the most part. A lot of times that we've seen him on screen in the live action, it's mainly been a corporation kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas like in video games or even in the comics, like he's actually politically like driven.
yeah.
Like he
Oh,
wants to
big
be
time.
mayor, or he wants to like
Doesn't he
take part of
become?
things.
He's like the president, or he becomes like the leader of Shield in the comics, and he's like the leader of the Thunderbolts at one point as well, isn't he? Like, so he's kind of
Yeah,
like an anti Nick Fury sort of.
yeah, and he runs his own organization. I think he like headlines for the Sinister Six at times as well, and like so it can be such a driven, like powerful kind of character that I think he can I think Ryan can possibly pull it off. But at the same time, I kind of would like a Bryan Cranston kind of character
I'd
doing
love
that kind of stuff.
Cranston needs to come to the MCU in some shape or form. Like he's such a phenomenal actor, and I feel like he just says yes to everything. Like I watched Argyle during the week. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Mhm.
like it was pretty fucking bad. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was really hoping it was going to be good because I'm a big fan of the Kingsman series, and I was like sitting there kind of going, I really hope this is good, but it was actually kind of hard to watch. It started off quite well, but it just got so goofy and stuff, and it wasn't as good as Kingsman. So like the goofy bits that came up, I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really stomaching this the same way I would Kingsman.
Mhm.
But like Cranston's in that movie as well, and it's kind of like I know he's a good actor, but this role just wasn't written very well for him. So like
Right.
it's kind of hard to watch him, but I know it's not his fault. It's the fault of like the writing or whatever.
What if Taron Egerton was Harry? That would
Yeah,
be so fucking interesting. Or make him like I wouldn't mind seeing Taron Egerton being like a villain at times. Like I think he could actually play a pretty good villain role.
yeah,
Um
potentially, yeah. Like obviously we know that they need to start casting the X-Men soon. So like, all these people that are being thrown up in the air, like we're thinking of like roles that are kind of out there, but they all might just be X-Men, like like
dude,
it's
dude, what if Taron Egerton was Bobby?
Iceman, yeah.
Iceman,
I
yeah.
I could see it. I could see like again, like I don't know how old the X-Men are gonna be. Like it's so hard to know. Like are they doing like a kind of first class again, or are they gonna like jump straight in like the original Fox movies where they were all kind of grown? Because in that case, like Taron could be a really good young Scott Summers slash, you know, um, Cyclops, or he could be, um, he could even be like obviously, his main kind of cast role has been like a young Wolverine as well. Like so, it really depends where the X Men are going to first come into it, like how old they're going to be and stuff. So
Yeah.
obviously we know the Fox X Men are coming, and they're going to like transition over probably after Secret Wars or whatever, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's very much up in the air. Like I think
Right.
Gosling could be a bunch of different characters in the X Men if they're doing a kind of little bit older versions of them, like a more kind of mature version.
hmm Shave his
Yeah,
head, make him Professor X.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, like you're absolutely right on the age thing. If we get an older cast, I think that would be awesome because then you could essentially make it so that you have the X-Men via like the 90s X-Men cartoons where they're already in their like prime age
Yeah,
at that time. Like Rogue is like fully grown, she's a fucking badass.
yeah,
Storm is like, going ham with her abilities. You have Wolverine looking like he's been through shit already. You know, Cyclops is kind of still learning, but he's kind of the younger kind of guy, right? And
yeah,
but like it works so well, especially when like they're trying to help each other, but at the same time trying to prevent each other from making the wrong decisions. Which like if I've been watching the first few episodes, or I've watched the first few episodes, and it's really apparent that Wolverine does his own thing at times. Like he has a hard time listening to people and being like fully integrated into the X-Men. And so like
are you talking about the '92, like the original cartoon?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and it's
Wolverine and Scott like are always kind of button heads though, aren't they? Like that's always
well,
kind of the way.
it's not even that. Like he won't even like there are times where he's not even listening to the team at all. Like nobody.
Yeah, yeah,
He's just like, oh, whatever. I'm gonna go straight for it. Like
yeah.
kind of stuff like that. And like he knows Saberwolf or not Saberwolf, Sabretooth, Jesus.
Sabretooth, yeah. You're
And
a saber wolf.
yeah, like essentially, like they, in one of the episodes, they bring in Sabretooth and like he's like, no, we got to eliminate him right now. And it's like, what do you mean? Like he's a mutant just like us. We have to take care of him. And he's
Yeah,
like, you've not been there. Like he knows shit.
it's his
Like he,
brother.
yeah,
Yeah,
essentially. And like having that connection and having the understanding between that is so fucking good.
yeah,
And like to make Cavill into that and to like or at least be a variant, that's going to be kind of difficult in my eyes, but I think it'll work. I think it'll be fine. But I
yeah,
agree with you. I don't want it to be a one and done,
yeah,
but if they don't, um then he could be anything, you know?
yeah, yeah. So I have a little exercise for anybody who's watching us on a replay or if they're listening to us. pop over to our YouTube and throw in the comment section below this video who you want to see Ryan Gosling play in the MCU. I'm just curious to see what people think. If you're listening live, throw it in the chat. We'll read it out live. But I'm just curious because, again, like, you know, I've had Doom in my head and stuff, but now, like, that I think about it, he could be fucking anybody, like, you know.
Yeah. Like, give us your serious and give us your ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to read a few of them, and maybe if there's a lot of them kind of during the week, during replays and stuff like that, maybe we can read them out next week, John, on the next episode of the cast.
I would love that.
Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. Kind of talking about, because again, we're talking about kind of Deadpool 3 in a way anyway, but I saw that what's his name? Levy, the dude who's like directing Deadpool 3. I can't think of his first name. Steven?
The only Levies I know are like Eugene Levy and Dan Levy.
He's the director of the movie. I can't think of his. It's not Scott.
Levy?
Sean Levy. Sean. Jeez, I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. It's like so Irish. But yeah, basically Sean Levy. He's obviously worked with Ryan a good bit. The rumor is that, you know, Feige and everybody over at Marvel are absolutely loving Deadpool 3, which is obviously fantastic to hear. So basically what they want to do is they want to try and get Levy involved more, directing more, you know, kind of dipping his toe into as many projects as he can. Kind of feels like the Russo brothers in phase 2/phase 3, you know, like where they just kind of kicked it off so well with Winter Soldier, and they were just like, please just fucking direct as much as possible. You know, so I kind of feel like maybe that Scott Levy might be the next Russo brothers for Marvel, if he's going to be able to do this. Because, like, if you think about it, right, he's going to be doing obviously Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3 is going to involve a lot of X-Men. So naturally, it would make a lot of sense that if he does the next X-Men movie as well, because he's obviously dipping into a lot of these characters already. Obviously, you know, he could do Deadpool 4. Maybe he does like a Spider-Man movie or something like that. Like, you know, like you could easily see him kind of taking over a lot of that sort of style of movie. And then, you know, maybe they jump back in with oh my god, what's the horror dude that did
Raimi?
Yeah, Sam Raimi, sorry. Obviously Sam Raimi like has been in kind of rumors for a while. You know, Toby Spider-Man 4 apparently is happening with Raimi. Raimi's been rumored for a while to be directing Secret Wars. So, like, you know, could those rumors be slightly wrong? Maybe Toby and Raimi are working together as Spider-Man, but on Secret Wars rather than a solo Spider-Man 4. But apparently the rumor is that Toby Spider-Man 4 is a go with Raimi back directing. And then Raimi's going to do like maybe Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and then you get Levy on doing all the other stuff, you know, like it kind of then gets the kind of connective tissue back rolling. We kind of try and maybe go back into a bit of a phase 3 vibe.
Yeah. And looking at Sean Levy's track record, like he's directed and produced a lot of good stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
like most of it I would in my opinion are hits. There's a couple that are like not flops, but they were just more so like niche hits. That, like, you know, Real Steel. I really liked Real Steel. I thought it was a fun movie that also had Hugh Jackman in it. So that means that he's worked with Hugh Jackman.
Exactly.
He's also collaborated with Ryan Reynolds. Like he's done Free Guy, The Adam Project. He's doing Deadpool and Wolverine. He's been primary producer of Stranger Things. He directed the Night of the Museum film series. Like the dude's like got a good good amount of So like I'm actually, this actually makes me more excited to see what he's going to bring to the table with Deadpool and Wolverine. Hopefully Disney's influence hasn't like reduced it too much, because I know at the very least they want to try to make it as I know it's like you said, it was rated R, right?
It is.
Yeah. So like even if it's rated R, to be able to make it rated R, but also have it be somewhat kid okay, like it's like that one little bit of like, oh, I can watch, like I totally can see my kid watching it, but I have to be there. Kind of thing. Like, and like that's kind of, in my opinion, that's a sweet spot if you're still trying to appeal to the kids. If it's rated R, but like you can kind of bring your kid and just be like, I just had to bring him with me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it'd be a fun experience.
I feel like it'll be more kind of Deadpool 2 rather than Deadpool 1, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
Deadpool 1, like the scene where, he they do like the whole scene where she's like fucking him and stuff. Like, and I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
Disney aren't gonna do that, like, I'd be shocked if they did.
I think my favorite part of that was like, what was it? Happy International
Yeah,
Women's Day.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's getting the strap on, fucking.
And he's like, nope,
Yeah, no,
we're done. We're
I saw there's a hilarious interview with Blake Lively on I think she's on like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, one of those, and she was talking about how like she'd be on like a plane when that movie came out, and like she'd be walking to the bathroom, and every single person would be watching that movie, and she'd be like sitting on a plane like having like looking around and like just seeing her husband getting like fucking, like just getting smashed. So I can only imagine, bro. Like, imagine how that would feel. Like, oh my god.
well,
Sometimes I just don't know how these actors do it.
well, I mean, that's Ryan Reynolds for you, man. Like he's just
True.
so good at like even if he's never experienced that in real life, he makes it feel like he's done it before.
Yeah. I believed that actually happened. Also, just in MCU news, like again, we're live 40 minutes now. I can't believe it. MCU apparently came out and they said, like Disney had said, that they want to kind of take a step back from making risky movies, which, like, to me sounds great. But at the same time, it sounds a little, I don't know. It kind of, like, what do they classify? Like, what are they classifying as risky, basically, right? Because they want to go back to making like hits with like A-listers like Spider-Man and Iron Man, all that sort of stuff. But like, if they kind of draw back too much, do we miss out on like hits like Shang Chi, for example, like stuff like that, which I think absolutely deserve to be made. Great film, gets better every time I watch it. Does a movie like that not get made now because it's like, well, we don't think it's going to fill seats during like box office time? You know what I mean? Does something like the Guardians of the Galaxy not get made because they're not A-list characters, but give them a chance and they could become A-list characters?
Right. Well, I mean, honestly,
Arguments to and fro,
yeah, of course. But honestly, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy series is a good hit. It's not
Oh,
it's not
it's
bad at all. Like it's just
it's I think it's a bit of a, I saw someone talk about it earlier today and they called it a false positive, and I think
yeah.
it is a false positive. I think he's 100% right in what he's saying, because it gave them this false sense of security that they thought like, Jesus, we can put anything out and everyone's going to fucking love it.
Right.
And now obviously phase 4 and 5 have told them otherwise, but I think the Guardians came out either at the right time. I'm very curious if Guardians came out today as opposed to not like 10 years ago. Would it be a hit today? If it was the exact same film, but it came out today rather than 10 years ago, like would it have been as good as it is now?
I think so, only
Yeah.
for the fact that they really did do a good job, I would say, in one, showcasing that they're all a bunch of assholes toward each other.
Mhm.
And then in two, kind of showcasing that there's a lot of underlying feelings and things that like we don't know about these characters that they really brought out, which I thought was really cool. Like the whole situation with Yondu and Rocket Raccoon, like that was, in my opinion, one of the best moments, because like they're yelling at each other and he's trying to get Rocket to like admit to himself like, shit, like I guess I don't know myself that well, but
Yeah.
I know you because you're just like me. And I love that. Like there's always these connections that you see. Like that's why Iron Man 1 was so good, because there were all these moments of like, yeah, he was a millionaire or billionaire and playboy, like philanthropist and whatnot, and like we've heard it all. Well, like in reality, like he's a very down to earth character who just wants to put a suit of armor on the world, and you can clearly see it, and he realized the like the wrong he's done. And so like I see how like stuff like that, I would love to go back to that. I don't know what they mean by exactly by risky, because Guardians of the Galaxy isn't necessarily risky. It's just a little bit edgy and it's fun.
Well,
Um
I think it would have been risky in 2014 when, like, the only people who knew who like Star Lord and Drax and stuff and Gamora were like the sweaties. Like I had no clue who
so
any I had no clue who any of them were. I have no problem saying that. Like back in
But
10 years ago, like I didn't know who the fuck Star Lord was.
yeah, and I totally understand that. But at the same time, now you know them. Like at the least,
Exactly.
you know
So
like some bit of it.
it's not a risk now, but I think what they're trying to get at is like, they've seen, for example, the Marvels or like Ant-Man 3, like movies like this just aren't filling seats. So I wonder, do they go like, okay, maybe now's not the time to do uh, a Moon Knight movie. Let's say the Moon Knight show didn't exist, but let bring in a brand new character no one's seen before. The normal fans, the normies, don't know who the fuck that person even is. Like
Right.
they're not going to take a chance on something like that. They're going to just go, okay, let's do another Avengers movie. Let's do Spider-Man 4. Let's do Thor 5. You know what I mean? Like let's get the safety net out. Let's try and sink some billion-dollar movies in the bank again. Like that's that. I think that's what they're trying to do.
So I think what they're not understanding though is what they mean by risky, because in my opinion, none of the things that you've mentioned right now before, like talking about going back, were risky. Introducing new characters isn't risky. Introducing new characters and not using the source material is risky.
Yeah,
Introducing new characters and not giving them a proper screen time is risky. Um, having a next film about a character that's already been established, and then introducing characters that are like played by actors that are widely known, um like it throws people off the game. Like you can't overdo it on the star ranking. You have to have nobodies in certain cases. Like we
yeah,
can't like I Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, like I thought it was good, but it definitely threw me off because there were so many moments where you kind of feel like it was just taking you out of the loop, because it it went a little too wacky on Modoc, and it had fucking Bill Murray in it.
yeah,
Like I don't know why you threw Bill Murray in it. It could have been anybody. It could have been a nobody.
mm,
Um and it could have been a lot more serious. I think that's the problem, is that it's Disneyfied. And because when you look at it, like, you know, you go into the Marvels, you go into She-Hulk, you go into, Moon Knight, and it always has to crack jokes and crack wise. Like it's just, you don't need to do that, dude. Like just fucking do the source material shit, or at least pull from the source material, understand what the character is, and play that character.
yeah,
Um, because you're essentially telling me that, Mark Spector is a fucking goofball, that his personalities are goofballs, and that's not the case. In some cases, like, those characters are fucking badass, and when they're donning the outfit, like Moon Knight himself, he's so fucking vicious. And you've read the first couple of comics, and you already know, like, the dude
yeah,
doesn't fuck around once he has that suit on.
yeah. That's
He's
like he's the Batman of Marvel. Like he just doesn't give a shit.
he's fucked up in the brain because of Khonshu,
Yeah, yeah,
because he has to be the avatar of Khonshu, essentially.
yeah,
And so, like, and you see like, the Marvels, it could have been so good, dude, but they fucked up the story because they wanted to tell their own, and
yeah,
it was so bad. The fucking character that they chose for the villain is a nobody in the comics,
yeah.
and
One
so they
issue or
had,
something. They were in
yeah,
one issue or something like that.
yeah, like they took that name, they're like, oh, we like that, that's a Kree, oh, let's just make it about that, like, and nothing else.
Yeah, yeah. I felt really bad.
And then
That's like
and the
that's Loki's like real life wife, right?
Right, and just the fact that you like, and that's probably why she got that role, which
Probably.
which I hate to say it, but like I had never seen that woman before.
No.
So like I was just, like, I'm all for Tom Hiddleston wanting to have like her,
Mhm.
his significant other like play a role, and that's great, but like pick the shittiest fucking role. Um and making fucking Captain Marvel like essentially a Disney princess on another planet, it was like, oh, this is fucking cringe.
I know,
I don't
I
want to
know,
get too far into it, dude. Like we're gonna be talking about this all night if I
I
if I
know,
go
I know,
on.
I know, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it up. Um, But yeah, look, I genuinely think that they're in a mindset now where it's like we need asses and seats. We need to be making $1 billion movies, and stuff like the Marvels is not it. The fan base don't like it. The woke stuff is not being received. It's like, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board. And honestly, for the most part, I think, thank God. But at the same time, there's part of me that thinks, like, I heard that they're either canceling Eternals 2 or like really like delaying it a lot, like pushing it way down the road. But
Mm.
like it's already been like what, fucking 4 years since the first one, and they're talking about pushing it down the road again. It's like, you mentioned Star Fox earlier in the conversation, but it's like Harry Styles was in the MCU like years ago now at this stage, and we still don't know why. We don't know where he is. We don't know what he's up to. Like, you know what I mean? It's just so all over the place. Like, you know what I mean? And if they're pushing like a project like Eternals 2 down the road by like another 4 years, like who the fuck's gonna even care at that stage? Like if it's like 8 years since the last movie, like all the
I
actors are
know.
gonna have aged so much and everything. Like it's just stupid, man. Like I just like, what's the point at this stage? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
What's the point? And
And
that's
we
their
should be
mindset, I think.
right. And but at the same time, we shouldn't be saying that. What's the point? Like we should be saying, what more can we have?
Yeah.
Like
Just even let
what's
them
the next thing?
let them show up in something else. Like, you know what I mean? I'm fully okay with, like, us watching, whatever the next movie is that takes place in space, and then just a few of the Eternals pop into it. Like, I've no problem with that whatsoever. And even if they're only in it for like 15 minutes, like, cool, great.
Right.
Let them do
And
like a Robert Downey Jr. and Spider-Man Homecoming, like, they hit 8 minutes of screen time, but like, spread it out across the movie. Do whatever you want to do. Like, it doesn't really matter. But like, just really fucking use the characters that you've established in the MCU already.
exactly. But even then, like, and this is my question to you, Fento. I've been meaning to ask you, do you think they actually have a plan, or do you think they're just fucking winging it until they're like, all right, let's in case of emergency, hit Avengers button?
I think they have a plan from now until Secret Wars, and then after that, I think it's just they're praying, bro. I think they don't know what's going to happen after Secret Wars. I know Feige has expressed interest in Secret Wars for a long time, so I think that's his kind of his finishing point, and I wouldn't be surprised if he retired after that. Just like hung it up. I've made fucking Disney $30 billion or something like that. Like, hang up the hat, go down as like one of the best producers of all time, and just be like, "See you later, lads. I'm done."
Dude,
I
it
wouldn't surprise me at all.
it's so fucked though, like how much gold that they had in their hands, and then they decided to like piss and shit all over it
Yeah,
just because they wanted to make this a human made, you know, film. Because like, to be completely honest, dude, the reason, like, in my opinion, the reason why it's so hard to make good Marvel content is because a lot of the times they're either completely masked and they're not taking that shit off. They're forced to be wearing something that they're not supposed to take off. They're forced because that's what their upbringing was, like the Hulk, or they're forced because they're mutants. And I know that they just bought mutants, but they're still gonna, in my opinion, they're still gonna fuck it up because they want to create human made content, and I'm absolutely against it. You know, the scroll invasion should have been much stronger, should have been a much higher priority. It should have been an Avengers movie because it literally was an Avengers level threat. An
yeah,
invasion from aliens who are essentially like, we want to take your fucking planet. And in the comics, we're like, we're literally taking over as scrolls. We've been sleepers. Like, you
yeah,
know, Barack Obama, John McCain were scrolls in the
yeah,
comics. Like Oprah was a scroll. Like
yeah.
it was chaos.
But
It was that amount of a threat, and they turned it into a covert ops bullshit story.
then again, like, and we've talked about this already, but like, we find out that Rhodey's been a Skrull since Civil War, and it's like that kind of ruins a lot of what his arc after that point.
Yeah,
But again, we still haven't heard anything about that, and we won't hear about it for another, what, 2 years?
yeah, because they haven't they have no plan.
But the the
I'm
Armor
completely
Wars
opposite of you,
Armor
man.
Wars
They have no
movie or
plan.
whatever. I think the Armor Wars movie will answer that, but it's just everything is so far apart now. Like, it's just like there's no, like, if this was like phase 3, for example, or phase 2, something would happen at the end of Winter Soldier, and the very next project, which will be out probably the same year or the next year, would be referencing it, would potentially have the same characters in that next project, and it would just be one fucking river, one flow, just everything all linking together, and it was just one big end game. Hence the name Endgame. So it's like I just it just doesn't feel like that anymore. Like, the fact that we have big reveals like Rhodey, and then it's like, okay, you gotta wait another 3 years for the movie to come out. And oh, by the way, Rhodey's not gonna show up in anything again. White Vision's not gonna show up anywhere again, and then boom, they'll just magically appear years later. It's just like, what? And it's so long, bro. The breaks are so long. It's ridiculous.
You're laying me down on a bed of nails and telling me not to move, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Man.
Yeah.
Like it's in my opinion, if they're really planning all this stuff out, I think that like they're doing it in such a shitty way compared to what they did back in 08 or 07 when it started. When they first had all this stuff going forward, it essentially was like, it felt like they had already started filming things way ahead and had everything lined up for each year to come. Whereas this is like taking too much time in between, and there's too many shows that they're so focused on, which I think is like really the wrong way that they were taking it. I think the shows could have been great, but because they split so much in half and they were like show, movie, show, movie, show, movie, that it just like there was not enough creativity to go around. And I like, in my opinion, these screenwriters, these story writers, the directors, like everybody's been really lazy. It's almost like after Endgame, they all ended up like farmers. Just like they did this, they did the same thing that Thanos did and just built a farm and just fucking sat on their asses until the next thing came around.
Yeah, I think they got too high and mighty. They set the bar too high. It's kind of like the CW, basically the way that they make shows. So like when you watch a CW show, like if you watch like the first season of Arrow, for example, they have all like the best writers involved, and it's, you can tell like all the best directors that work for the CW are working on that show. They're trying to really get it off the ground. They're trying to build the fan base. And then like season 2 is great again. Season 3, it's starting to get a little worse, but you can still see this time and effort going into it, and there's care there. And then like by season 4, you're fully into like autopilot mode. It's like just basic stories. The fan base is made. You've got your diehards that are going to show up every week, every Thursday to watch it no matter what. And then it just declines and starts getting slower and slower until they finally go, okay, the viewership is kind of fairly shit, let's end it here. And so many shows have been like that, like fucking Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. Legends is kind of a funny one because it started off bad and they realized kind of halfway through the show that if they actually just ripped the piss out of themselves and like made it funny, that people would like it a lot more. So the show went from being serious at the start to kind of start making fun of itself, and then it became a kind of comedy, and it was actually really good. It's kind of like a really weird one, but yeah, a lot of the CW stuff is like that, and I kind of feel like maybe the MCU got to the highest height, the all-time high, Endgame, and just said, we can't lose from here. After Endgame, they brought out like Far From Home was the next one, Spider-Man movie. Like it was Sony's highest grossing movie of all time. They were like, we can't miss with this shit. Like, and then just, started going into phase 4. Got greedy. Let's try and take over Netflix. We'll release our own one, Disney Plus. We'll get into the streaming game. We'll take all the viewers. We'll take all the subscriptions. And then it just didn't go as planned. Mandalorian was fantastic, but the Marvel stuff just didn't land. Not as well as they thought. Like, I think they genuinely thought that these shows were going to come out, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to come out. It was going to be like $1 billion movie, but just on TV. Millions and millions of subscriptions just to watch that show. And then like, oh, these people will just keep the subscription. And then it's like, they get WandaVision, they get like Loki, they get everything else. Like, and then it's just hit. I'd love to be on the inside just to kind of see, just be sitting in the corner, just kind of smirking, like, and just listening to them go, hang on a second, people don't like this stuff. What's going on? I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that meeting, like just where they're kind of like, oh, hang on a second, this movie's shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, how did that happen? Hang on, wait. People are realizing this is bullshit now. Hang on, what's happening? I'd love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations, like, because I'd love to just see the day when it kind of the lights came on for them, like,
Dude, and that's the funny thing about it. Like, as you were talking about, I'm like, Yep. Like I completely 100% agree with you. They try to do a victory lap.
Yeah,
Like no, don't do that. You finished. Just finish. Don't do a victory lap, please. And they
yeah.
tried and they fucked up and they broke their ankle and now they're fucked.
Could you imagine? And I kind of hate to say this because there has been some good stuff out there that I would like kind of miss if it was gone. But imagine they ended with Endgame. Imagine the Endgame was the end. Like how
I would have been okay with that.
it would have been beautiful. It would have been
Yeah.
incredible. It would have gone down in history as one of like the greatest cinematic achievements of all time. I still think it does hold up. You know, I know Phase 4 and 5 haven't been great, but there's been some good in there. You know, if it didn't continue, we wouldn't have Multiverse of Madness, we wouldn't have No Way Home, we wouldn't have Far From Home, we wouldn't have Shang Chi, we wouldn't have a few other bits like Deadpool 3 coming, all the kind of merging. That wouldn't have happened, obviously, but well,
Well,
it would, sorry, but it would have been rebooted universe, a new universe, like, but
not even that, dude. Like what you're trying to say is like a reboot. Like I'm telling you, dude, like you don't have to reboot it. All you had to do was not make it apparent that it was a reboot. Or
yeah.
not even that. Don't like let me rephrase that. Don't make it a reboot. Don't make it seem like it's or actually do make it seem like it's a reboot, but it's not. It's a different universe, completely different from everything, and you don't find out until shit hits the fan.
But
You know what I
would be
mean?
you'd be talking about like recasting everybody and starting again. So like technically, yes, reboot.
But you have to think about it in a different way, Finto. Like it's this is like I'm talking about MCU Ultimates.
Yeah, yeah. I know what
So
you're
like
saying, but you got to think of it as from the the normie standpoint. Like when Fox are making superhero movies and then Sony start making superhero movies, of course they're not connected or anything. But it's when like Marvel Studios start making a new series of films, it's the same studio making them. It's like, that'd be kind of like them just doing another Spider-Man movie, but kind of not like recasting Toby to Andrew, but not really making a big deal about it. Whereas that
yes,
that was a big deal though when it happened.
right, but like
The Spider-Man recasts were always a global topic, like, you know what I mean? It was a
right,
big thing. So I just don't know
right.
if you could recast Iron Man without it being a big thing. If you could recast Captain America without it being a big thing, like.
So that's what I'm saying, Finto. Don't cast any of those characters. Don't have those characters. Fuck them. Put all new characters. Moon Knight. Do redo Punisher in the MCU world. Like redo Daredevil. Do She-Hulk. Add all these characters that we haven't seen yet, and then put them in their own like timelines or single timeline that's separate from it or parallel from the original timeline, and it's the Ultimates. And then you kind of bring it together and be like, the original had these people, the Ultimates had these people. You have them clash. There you go. It doesn't fuck with the original timeline that we all know and love, because that's the whole point of Loki season 1 was the sacred timeline. The sacred timeline. They were talking about Endgame, dude. Like it was just so fucking like apparent in my head. It was like this is you're it's like when talking about the 40-year-old virgin. You're putting the pussy up on the pedestal. Like
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Like just go with the flow. Just literally do your own thing and then create a twist in between. And that's why I'm saying it's not technically a reboot, but you can make it look as such in certain cases. Like you can redo a Spider-Man or have Miles Morales in a live action, or like, kind of make it look as if it's in the same universe, but it turns out it's not.
Yeah.
Give us some twists and turns, man. All you're doing is continuing and then having us try to give a shit about like the timeline via Loki, which I didn't give a single fuck about. I didn't care for it. I didn't really care for like all the cameos that happened. It was cool at the time, but like thinking back to it now, it was lame.
Yeah.
It could have been so much more, but because, again, I'm going back to this, because they wanted humans and not mutants, mutates, like human mutates, disformed figured characters. They didn't want anything to be different from actual humans. It fucked with the whole formula.
Yeah.
That's people love the Hulk because he's different.
Facts.
People love Iron Man because he's different. People love like Captain America because he's a superhuman. That's the human that you want. Captain America, Falcon, even Winter Soldier is like human, but he's like part cyborg in the sense. Like then you have Vision. So like everybody is kind of like their own unique character, and that's what I love so much about Marvel. But when you kind of shut out the people that are like so fucking deformed or fucked up or have all these different like abilities and whatnot, and you don't showcase it, it really fucks with things. And I like it's so hard. That's why I think DC is a lot easier because they're all literally humans that are in costume to be superheroes.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Like,
Besides Martian Manhunter, I mean, who else? Like Beast Boy? You gonna tell me Beast Boy and Cyborg?
yeah, like a lot of the Green Lantern Corps are all aliens as well, and Hawkman is like he's like technically an alien from a different planet as well, and
He's still a
he's
human
human
looking.
looking, yeah.
Yeah. It's but even then they still don't utilize that stuff. They're always stuck in that rut. And they need to branch out and do more. We have CG and I know it's expensive, but fucking utilize it, man.
Yeah, I would like to start seeing like more alien characters and stuff.
I love Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle was fun.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it was
because
good.
but it was just like you said, because of Barbenheimer, it got shit on.
Yeah, I actually want to rewatch that because I haven't seen it since the theatrical release, so I'll be curious to watch it again.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah.
Okay.
I heard
Yeah.
I heard some Shang Chi news actually about the second one too. So apparently there's going to be an Iron Fist in the second Shang Chi movie, which I think makes absolute sense. But from what I've heard, the movie is like a time travel film when it goes back in time. So the Iron like which will allow them to do a recast of the Iron Fist because it'll be an older version of an Iron Fist. It's not like Danny Rand. It'll be a different Iron Fist.
Mm.
What do you think about that?
I mean, how like did the show did Iron Fist do well at all?
A lot of people didn't like it. I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. Like it was better than Luke Cage in my opinion, but it
Mm.
wasn't very highly received. A lot of people didn't like the guy who played Danny Rand. I thought he was pretty good. Like it didn't bother me,
Mhm.
but I can see people's dislike for the show.
Did it have the same kind of issue of not wearing the costume?
Yeah, he was just himself. Like he didn't actually dress up as the Iron Fist. Like he never had like the scarf on. He kind of showed off the tattoo a little bit, but like yeah, he was just himself. He was
Yeah,
just Danny.
and that's and I think that's what really hits for most people is that you're not giving us a costume hero, you're just giving us a human. Um
Yeah,
it,
and like
it
it's a bit of a shame because like that show, the character I didn't really know much about the Iron Fist, like, but it's a cool kind of story. It's very kind of
yeah,
mythical and everything, so you could kind of go crazy with the story, and I think him like Shang-Chi and him like would kind of work well together. They both have kind of like mystical lands where they go to get their powers and stuff.
of
Like it
course.
yeah, I think it would be cool. Um, I kind of like the idea of the two of them on the big screen, and then if it's a big hit, maybe they go back to the current time and the dude who was Danny Rand is the Iron Fist again, and
Mhm.
maybe he gets a better chance of it on the big screen, like being written and directed by Marvel Studios. Maybe it's a bit better because like
Yeah.
obviously it'd be a bit weird if they recast him, but they've brought back like Daredevil and Punisher and stuff. Like that's all from the same universe. Like they all share the show together, so it just wouldn't make sense if they recast one but like kept others. So I
Yeah.
think they're kind of like shoehorning themselves in a way like where they can't use Iron Fist if they're going to follow that logic if they don't like the Danny Rand character, but they're going to use other characters from that universe as well. And now
Right.
it's all canon. So
Yeah.
if you go onto Disney Plus and look at the timeline order of the entire MCU, like he's there as Iron Fist. The show is there. It's in the timeline. I think it's around the
Yeah.
2016 mark.
And
So
and so like you can't ignore it.
no,
It's-
Jesus, no. No, that's what kind of annoys me about like, people getting double casted in the MCU. Because like while it's like, you're kind of supposed to just like, you know, shrug the shoulders and be like, nah, okay, yeah, fair enough, whatever. He was in something already, but now he's somebody else. That shit really gets to me when it's a connected universe. Like it's kind of stupid.
yeah.
Like
but at the same time, like there, CG has come a far and long way to the point where you can literally have two characters look alike, exactly the same, and they're literally not there in real
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
But you could like essentially you can have the Human Torch and Captain America chatting with each other.
yeah,
Um, it's very much possible. Like you can totally work with that. You can cast characters and do the CG work, and it'll be so fun, dude. Like imagine that. Imagine having Chris Evans, Human Torch, and Captain America chatting in the same room. Not touching each other, of course, because that's probably a little bit harder to do. But
I
like
think I
at the
think we could definitely see that in Deadpool 3. Like really,
I'm
very high
if
possibility.
if we do, I'll be shocked because
I
that like I would love that.
I think what's gonna happen in Deadpool 3, I'm putting it out there now. Clip it, guys. Get ready. But I think what's gonna happen is I'm going to be full blown shocked if Chris Evans doesn't show up in some shape or form in this film. I think he absolutely will. But I think what's going to happen is he's going to appear. He's going to be in like street clothes, normal clothes. We're all going to think it's Captain America, but it's Johnny Storm. That's genuinely what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's still like from the
Fox
Fox
Universe,
universe. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So
and
I
this
think
movie is
yeah.
about the destruction of the Fox Universe. They think they see him come in. Reynolds probably says something funny like, "Oh my God, it's Captain America," and he'll be like, "Johnny," will be like, "Who? What? Like, I'm not Captain America. I'm Johnny Storm. I'm the Human Torch, baby." He's real cocky, I genuinely think that's what's gonna happen. Or maybe, as you say, you could get the two of them actually where they do that side by side thing, where they like
Oh,
shoot them
yeah.
from the side and they just shoot the two
I-
things at different times.
If you do that, then I want them to try to make out. Because
Yeah,
because that would so fit in that universe.
yeah.
Like
Evans would do that too. I know he would.
right?
Yeah,
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 no, he'd
absolutely.
he'd totally be for it.
Yeah. Hilarious. Do you have any other topics to bring up, or are we done for the week?
Just that like I'm really excited to see, X-Men 97 this coming
Yes.
week.
Yes.
I really am hoping that it does well because if it does really well for an animated series, then maybe that'll drive Disney to want to push for more animated shows rather than live action. In which case, it makes it so much easier, in my opinion, to just have all these fun adventures.
Yeah.
Just have them animated, like bring us back to that golden age of like, Spider-Man, with the techno sounds like Spider-Man
Oh
and to
yeah.
have the
I only
X-Men
watched an
fucking
episode of that today, dude. Love
so
it.
good, right? Like
Love it. Yeah.
and Hulk is goofy. Like I'll tell you that. I love Hulk, but the fucking animated series is fucking goofy.
Mm.
But I would still be happy for that because you get to do whatever you want with it.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but other than that, like yeah, like we got Invincible season 2, like we got the next episode coming up. I know we're not going to talk about it today, but we will be talking about it next week.
Yes.
Which I think is going to be awesome. We're we got a good lineup coming up, and we're definitely going to have some cool stuff to talk about. And if anybody has any comments in our YouTube videos, like please, post them. Let us know. Like we check them.
Yeah, for sure.
The
Photoshop.
comics aren't goofy. Oh yeah, the
Oh yeah.
comics are
Big
always
time.
goofy. Dude, I like comics can be serious and goofy. I don't care if it's good content. I'm all for it.
Amen. Amen. Like, and again, I read more DC than I do Marvel, but like DC can be very dark and very like realistic, but at the same time, it can be goofy as fuck and it's fun as fuck too. So
Dude, I
yeah,
love
it's just
Batmite.
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. If you're new to the channel, please consider dropping a follow. If you're listening to us on a replay, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. I want to hear everybody's castings for Ryan Gosling in the MCU. Let us know where you think he should pop up. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, leave a review, drop a like, head over to the YouTube, follow us over there, all that usual stuff. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.